Alright, so I figured it's probably useful for me to go over some of the most commonly used Arnold nodes that I use all the time, day to day. There might be a couple things that I miss, but for the most part, these are what I always use for procedural shading and texturing. And it will be the same type of concepts in any other kind of software, rendering engine. They just might be named a little bit differently. So I threw in a Megascan cliff in here and we'll experiment and play around. So here we go. Here are some nodes. Of course, you start with the AI standard surface, which is the overall shader for Arnold. So let's just apply this. So it's in there. And these nodes over here, the AI ramp, the AI noise, the cell noise, multiply, add, layer RGB, curvature, triplanar, color correction, image, and there's like 2 different images. I probably end up just using the Maya files anyway. They're the same thing, but this is the Arnold version. I use it to, just in case I want to transfer it over to other softwares as an AS file, or if I want to export out the shader itself and I want everything to just look nice when I import the shader chain. So these are all basically utility nodes that manipulate and adjust things to the shaders, and then these are actual kind of shaders pretty much. So you got the standard shader, you got the layer shader, the ambient occlusion, mix shader, and the utility, and we'll check these out. So we have let's get the open on a render view. Let's just press get the IPR going. So I have a sky dome in here which is lighting it right now, nothing special. And that is from the company Cave Studio. They have some cool lights in there. You should check them out, Cave Studio. I believe it's probably cavestudio.com or something, but you can Google it. So we have the shader on there, the AI standard, and you can see you got the adjusting the color and everything. So I would use my triplanar or the texture that comes with it. So if you do a file, right now I just have a square texture of this rock instead of using the texture that comes with this cliff. And what I would do is just add a triplanar, which is projecting the texture. Let's move this over here, make this larger. And also you can find all these nodes in the Arnold tab over here with the utilities split up. So let's just get rid of this so it's bigger. I don't need this. So anyway, we have the triplanar, which projects it from XYZ, and you don't need any UVs for this. So I would take triplanar, I would take my, let's say, AI image, which already has a texture in it, and I would apply it, and then put the color into the base color. And you'll see when this updates, it's converting it to a TX texture right now. So it's gonna take a little moment to update full scene. Sometimes, a lot of times actually with Arnold, you have to hit that update scene to get, if you like remove a geo or a new texture or something and you just see it's wonky or it's not working, you just have to update. And then it will just, there we go, update it. So if I go and click on the isolate button over here, it will isolate what I have selected. So right now I currently have the texture selected, and then I'll click on the triplanar and you see that it completely makes it tiny, right? So you have to go into the scale for the X, Y, Z here. So I always get confused if it's small, then it's big. Yeah. Let's just try 100. Yeah, no, it's small. And then go 0.001 all the way across, and you can see it's getting larger on certain areas, and now it's there, right? You can technically use the Maya triplanar, which is actually more user-friendly. You can just scale it up and down in the viewport. But again, if you want to export out shaders, it's just cleaner, so you don't risk any bugs that Arnold will read it correctly. So it's in here. If you want it a little bit bigger, you can do 1, 1, and 1. So now you have the texture on there without any UVs. So you go back to there, and there's the texture on it with the lighting. So that's definitely like, I'll use this constantly, all the time. It's the triplanar. I rarely ever UV anymore. So then let's check out the AI noise. So that's just your typical noise, which is nothing special. If I go put it into the base color, uncheck the isolation, and you'll see I can actually go into isolate and check that out as well. You can scale it up as usual. So if I went to 100, oops, it's always the opposite. You think it'd be bigger, but whatever. This also does XYZ. And this is too big, obviously. 0.1 then. So here you got noise on it. If you want noise on here, you can get the octave to get it some more detail, and you can distort it if you want, and all that jazz. You can, play with more details or less details. But what I do specifically a lot with this is that I'll use this as I try to, it's the same thing that I do with Nuke. I try to pretend that Arnold or Nuke is like Photoshop. So you're layering all these adjustments together, and you're extracting alphas everywhere, and then using that to drive and manipulate a texture or feature of that asset. So what I'll do is like, okay, if I don't want these grays and other stuff to affect anything, and I just really want some of these dark areas, I can go and use what I use all the time is the AI ramp, not the Maya ramp. And I'll just put the R into input and then the color into the base. And what's important is that you have to switch the type to custom. And then you got your manipulation here. Let's turn this off. This has to be updated again. So you're in there, and now we're looking through the ramp, and you can see if you click out of here or in that arrow to make this bigger, you can manipulate the ramp. So you're not just stuck with the noise that you're creating there. So if I wanted to say, I had a layer shader, so here we can actually just do it right now. Let's do the same colors here, and I want to multiply, AI multiply, what am I spelling? Put it into the, so I'm saying that I want these black and white features to multiply on top of this texture, and then let's put it in here, and you'll see that it will multiply these textures. Okay, so before it looked like this, and now I'm having the blacks completely multiplied. Now, if I don't want it to completely cut it out completely, I can always just, let's say we have this selected. This is another thing for isolation. You hit this lock button over here. So when I click over here, it won't move. And I can take this and calm it down, or I can actually go in the blacks and lift it up a bit. So it's not just black and you're just getting some effects here. And this is basically the gist of it. This is what what I'm always doing. It's just extracting alphas and manipulating it with a ramp. So let's go down the list. What's next? We have the cell noise, which is a more advanced version of the noise. So we'll put this into the base. Check this out. Is it updated? Uncheck that. And it starts out as your regular typical noise, but it has more options. So let's make this bigger. 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. And we can go to noise 2, which just adjusts it a little bit. And then we have the cell noise, which is completely different. I actually like the cell noise when I am using chips. Like if I want to break up my curvature edges, like let's say like you have the rock and the edge of it is chipped, I'll use this to alpha out some of those curvature node, which I will explain later. Or you can use noise, but yeah, you can do this. You can use the ramp again to manipulate the values. There's a cell 2. You can increase the detail, like the small ones to come in on both cells. You can increase the density and play with the randomness. So the randomness is more uniform, or you can have it spread around everywhere. And then you can have the whirly. Let's add a ramp into this. So color ramp it so we can crunch it and see what it looks like. Let's get into the isolate. Oh, I had this locked. My bad. Do this again. He has it on check. Get back in. So here's your whirly. You can see it better now. So if I go into the ramp, you can see if I bring this back to black, you see this different kind of look. And we can crunch it and all that jazz. You can get some cool little effects here. And so if we go into lock that view, go into the cell noise and affect the octaves, you get more detail. Nothing happening there. Amplitude effects stuff as well, which just basically just makes it more intense or not intense. But you can do that with the ramp if you want. Density doesn't do anything for the density. Now another cool one is the alligator. The alligator's cool. You can use it for, say, ice patches and stuff. You can do it for a lot of things because you can actually change. You should be able to change the number. There we go. Yeah, so that's 4 faces, and then now you have multiple faces, and it's randomness, right? So you can get some cool looks there. Octave breaks it up more. So there's a bunch of just experimentation playing around, and you'll discover that as you go. And you play with the ramp to get certain looks. You want to pop out to extract the alpha even more intense. You can do that with the ramp. The ramp is huge. I use this constantly. It really has saved me a lot. And then let's go to another one. We got the multiply, which we already went over, and you can do the same thing with the add. So we had this in here with the multiply, and let's unlock that. Reset it. So we had that. Let's go in here. We had it like that before, but this time we'll do color. Swap it out with the add. And now it does what Photoshop would do with the add, or Nuke would do with the add, right? Which is, let's actually save this. Why is this not? Oh. All right, so delete, and delete. So we have save this image, and then we put it into the multiply and render that. So you can see that with the blacks, is it the blacks? Yeah. So the blacks is complete multiplying, cutting it out, right? But then when you have it in the add, it's taking the whites and kind of like, you know, if you were to paint in Photoshop and you're doing an add layer, it's going to brighten it up, like give you like a glowy effect, right? So to calm that down, we can go into the ramp. So let's get rid of that. Go into the ramp and maybe take that white and just chill it out, right? So this could be cool for, let's say, bleaches on the sun bleach on a rock or something, right? Just breaking up the materials, getting as realistic as you can. Yeah, so that's for that. And then you could do, let's go to curvature. Now curvature is the edge. So if I was to isolate this, and you'll see in here are the edges of, it's like the inverse of the ambient occlusion. Let's go to radius, make it larger, and you can see it more. So now you have the edges, and you know, a lot of rocks and assets, you have chipped edges for wear and tear, and that will give you this. But it's all super uniform, right? So this is when you start layering stuff. So now we understand how the alpha from all the noise and everything can break things up. All you would have to do is do AI noise, and then AI multiply, and go to there and there, put that in here, reset it. All right, so we have the noise here, which is too small. So we do 0.1. And then we'll do a ramp, AI ramp. And we'll do a switch it to custom. Put the color doesn't work in here. It's asking for a black and white channel. So I'll just do red and put it back in here. So now what we have is these blacks will cut it out, right? So we have a ramp and make it more intense. So now you'll see now all that's being exposed are the white areas of the noise. And now you have these little cuts in here. And we can always just, let's leave it here, lock it there, and go to the noise and add some octave to it, some randomness. And what we can do on top of that is add a cell noise. So AI cell noise, switch it to, let's say, cell, and put the cell noise into the bias of the curvature. So this is the curvature. We got the bias in here, and that is, making it brighter or darker, cut things out, right? So we'll put this into the bias as a black and white channel. And now you see how it's cutting it up, right? And maybe that's too noisy, right? Maybe you want it to, maybe you want this even bigger. So we could do 0.01. So it cuts it out more. Right, so it's only in some spots. And you can add distortion if you want and just play with it, right? Now, it's not going to look that great in this view if we go to the regular shader, because it's typically what you would do with this is that you would add this as a separate shader, like let's say a white shader, and then layer them in a layer shader. So then it gets exposed through it, and you'll have like a shiny chipped spot on your full rock. So speaking of that, we could jump into that, I guess. We could do let's do another standard service, make this white, and we'll select, faster selected here, select the rock and give it the material. So we'll do a AI layered or mix. It's basically the same thing. So we'll have, you can see, this is where you create complex shaders. It's just you keep on layering and layering and layering the shaders. And you can do the same thing with, but that's shader specifically is these type of things, right? Layered shaders, not materials or textures. So you can do layered, AI layered RGB, which is a bunch of textures. So you can layer a bunch of these type of stuff together, like curvatures or the noises, the different type of noises, multiplies, and all that stuff. And they have their own operations as well. So you're not stuck to just multiply. You'll have like overlay and all this other stuff, just like Nuke and Photoshop has. This is how you literally have to just think of it like that. And then, so we'll do the shader since we're doing it like this. Actually, you know what you can do? A lot of times you do this in the RGB. So you could actually do this as the albedo. So let's do a layer shader. So we'll take the texture, put this in here. Assign it, and then play. Take the standard shader that we have white, and we will take the layer shader over here and put this one into the first input. Use just middle mouse click and drag into the input. Enable layer 2. Put this shader as in white. And into this input, and then you can delete that, and then you'll have a mix, which is going to be your curvature. So let's take the curvature over here that we had. Oops. Put over here, delete that, and drag them over. And we can put this into the mix. So we'll actually do a right click and show all attributes, and we'll go down to the mix down here, and red goes into mix 2, and we will assign the rock with the final layered shader. And now you can see the chips in here hitting. So if we go to isolate the curvature, and that is not picking up for some reason. Oh, because I have this unlocked. That's why. Okay. We go and check this out. And then we have that like that, and then multiply. We can just lock that real quick. Cut it out. We don't need it everywhere, right? We want brighter so we can see through it, and then we want this to get cut out. We can always just increase the noise size to 0.1, or I guess 0.05 or 0.05. So you have it not showing up there. Play with the values, octave. You can do, a lot of experimentation, distort, whatever you want. So when you go back into the shader, you'll see it's only showing up in areas. So you have it chipped here on the edges here, but then there's no chipping showing up here, right? And let's go to this, make that a screenshot, and we'll disable layer 2. And you can see how it gives it a lot more natural feel to it. And you can crank up the values more, make them bigger, play with the cell noise to break it up even more. All right. And again, this is also another shader, so you can play with your original gray shader materials, reflectivity, etc., etc. And it doesn't have to be just for chips. You can do this for all sorts of shapes. You can do it for snow. You can do it for dust. You want to layer dust on top of it. You want to layer snow on top of it. So speaking of snow, we'll talk about how you can do the utility node. And we'll jump back into the normal shader. Actually, we'll just continue on this, and we'll just add another layer to it. So we have that, and then we can do a AI utility. And if we apply this utility to, let's say, the rock itself, assign, it's just white, right? So you can switch it to flat color. And you have all sorts of different other features. So you have normal, which if you'll see, if you can go into the red channel, you now can extract alphas from the normals by just using a ramp to crunch the values, right? Then you get to green channel, you got the blue channel, and you'll see if I did ramp, and then, oh, that's right. So I'm looking through the blue channel right now. So you actually want whatever alpha you want from the normal, you want to grab that alpha out of here. So I want the blue channel to go into my ramp. And then let's put this into layer 3. Enable it. Layer 3. And so we can just disable all the other ones. Get out of the blue channel, go back to regular RGB, and go back to assign this material. And now what you see, if I was to crunch this down, you can see it's only hitting the tops. So it's getting rid of the bottoms. So you can use that as a snow piece or dust. Same thing with ambient occlusion. Or the inverse of you can actually do an inverse of the curvature. So if I did AI curvature, you can do concave or both. So if I was to put this into here, you'll see, I hate how it's selecting it. Radius. So you can switch, the convex is on the outside, and concave is on the inside. So you can get all these cracks in here, and you can affect the spread. Okay, well, you can do the spread like that or crunch it in more. Threshold, affects it as well. Let's do the AI Ambient Occlusion. Put an AO, so you have the spread on here. Doesn't do anything. You got the fall off. You can affect it with that. Near clip. So a lot of just messing around with it, but a lot of times if I can't get the numbers in there, I'll just throw in a ramp. So just put this in here. I'll just make a new one. AI RGB ramp, custom, and doesn't matter what channel you're using. And switch this out into input 3. And now we can crunch that stuff. So there's all different ways to get different alphas that you need. So you could always do, if you want to quickly just invert it, you just go invert. And now you have that alpha if you want, if you need the white or you need the black, stuff like that. Let's go back to the utility real quick because there's more things in the utility that is useful. So in the utility, we got the normals, we got geometry, tons of stuff. You basically just look at it to see, well, what can I extract from this stuff? UV chord, which is, let's see, where's the, so this is cool because you can actually pinpoint kind of gradients up and down. So if you look at the greens, right, the blues, the reds, you can adjust those with the ramp and just extract let's say see, so you can see that if you want it just on these edges or areas, you can, you know, adjust and grade and multiply and all that stuff with this. Like with the color correct, you can do let's say AI color correct. You can adjust the gammas and saturation and contrast and exposure. So you can have this alpha drive, have it multiplied on top of a texture and say gamma it down, contrast it up, saturation just that bit, you know. It's just like Photoshop. You're just extracting it and putting it on there. So if I was to go and change this to the green channel, you'll see it changes there. So now you can mess with the tops if you want. If I want to do the red channel, you can do there. And then if you want both, you can always just take two utilities and add and multiply them together or screen them, because the RGB layer has tons of, so AI RGB layer RGB has tons of, it's the same thing as the layer shader, but just with textures, 2D textures. So you can have all these different ones, the min max, which is just cutting out the blacks and whites, the multiply over plus for the screening, soft light, just like Nuke in Photoshop. And you have all that stuff at your disposal to manipulate this stuff. And then we've got the mix shader is good if you just want to keep it simple with just two layers. It's the same thing as the layers shader. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I'm doing every day, and just manipulating stuff around, extracting alphas, using the triplanar, using the multiply, the add, the overlay, the soft layer. I do that a lot with my textures, and you know, you can easily just look these up on the documents just to learn more about it, see what they do, and you just have to play with it. And then if you want to know more, you can just, you know, type in this node in YouTube and you can probably find some more details about it. But these are the most used nodes I'm using all the time. Now, and then what I do after this is that I'll make a pretty image, and then I'll go to www.atmovfx.com and upload it to the Atmo website that I have been working on. So I'll go to www.atmovfx.com. And upload it up on here, because why? It's way better than Netflix. If you want to protect yourself from AI, check out Amazing Art. And of course, it's just going to continue growing with different features. And then of course, you can upload your own videos, your own portfolio. There's a lot of things I have planned for this site. Join all the other artists, support the Atmo site, and check out the characters and creatures, which is now just starting to grow, which I just recently launched. And yeah, and join the Discord up here. And if you have any questions, you can hit me up directly. If you can donate to help me continue building the site, it's all out of pocket. That would really help. Yeah, guys, thanks. And thanks for supporting my channel, and subscribe for more, and look out for those other interviews, podcasts that I have coming. And let me know if you have any other questions. Hit me up on Discord. See ya.